Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Dice Jesters. My name is Julie.
And my name is Dave.
And today, Dave and I will be discussing Bruges. So what we do is we play 10 rounds, and then I go over the first portion, kind of guessing what the game is, after Dave sets it up. Then we review our first play. Well, my first play, not Dave's first play. And then we discuss after 10 games, do we still love it? How long did it take for us to like it? And what strategies did we see? And so on. So, first off, Dave. This game slightly looks threatening.
Does it?
A little bit, yeah.
How so?
Well, it looks like these two people here are racing. And then, I don't know what's going on. Oh, it looks like you start with 5 points. I honestly could not guess. I can tell you how beautiful the game is.
Oh, you like it?
Yes, I think it's really pretty. I like the arts. I love the Renaissance appeal. I love the different colors that they used. The dice I like too because it's wooden dice that they colored, and there's no enamel or anything on it. It's just the wooden. I enjoy the different colored meeples, which are also wooden.
I love wooden components in
painted
general.
Different colors. I know, I do too. I don't know how to make wooden components. I only know how to make resin components. It looks like there's just a lot going on. It looks like you can get points around it. You can get points then around the circle here. But I do like how there are these 4 cards where one is final scoring, one is round phases, actions, and threats. So based off of these cards, I would say that there's threats that you need to avoid. It looks like there is potential flood, raid, fire, pest. Another game with rats, David.
Yes. I couldn't get enough of the rats in the last one.
It looks like there's water. So I'm going to say you are just aiming to be most liked. It looks like perhaps you're 2 people wanting the same thing, and the winner is the one that wins the vote of the city or town.
Of the people.
Of the people.
Kind of. I mean, this takes place, it says, in 15th century Belgium. The first stock market opens its doors. All of Europe has its eyes set on the wealthy and influential city of Bruges. This is on the back of the box, by the way.
Okay.
It says, in this game, your objective will be to gather influence with the local merchants, bureaucrats, nobles, and the many others that rule this beautiful city. With their help, you will hope to gain prestige, reputation, and power, but you must be careful, as disasters lurk nearby. Ruse, tactical thinking, and a little luck will allow you to pull ahead. And if that is not enough, the shadier denizens of the city will be more than happier to help. It says shadier.
The shadier.
Yeah. And also the people on the front of the box. Is this a jester playing the flute?
Yes.
Or what is that?
Yes. Jesters do all kinds of things. You can play flutes. You could be funny. You can juggle. You can entertain.
Sounds like you have experience doing this.
Don't worry about it. I'm excited for this because I saw the cover because now all of your games sit on a shelf of which we can view. That's why it's not a first impression of the components. It's more so a first impression of the setup. And so I'm excited for it. It's funny that you mentioned Belgium because it kind of takes us to the journey that you took me on. Don't worry, I still came with the sense, but you took me to get Belgium chocolates.
Yes.
From a place.
From a monastery.
Yes. And that was really neat. And you told me that it was in preparation for a game.
Yeah. I had to mentally get into the space, take the journey. Yeah. And so I said, hop in the car. We're going on a special journey. And I drove you to the middle of nowhere where there was this monastery where they make chocolate. And we went inside. We sampled a few. Got some. And I don't really know how it prepared us for this game other than the chocolate was good. Yeah. It was cool just to go and experience that together.
So here is the scent. And based off the box, I did get more Renaissance. And when I think of Renaissance, I think of the Renaissance Fair. So there's people who make leatherwork, and then the smell of old books.
Yeah, so I love Renaissance fairs. By the way, they're fun.
I dress up every year. All right.
Oh yeah. That's perfect.
Hello, you're welcome.
So I mean, along with the chocolate and the scents, that really gets me.
It really gets you in the
mood for this,
to lose.
And I guess I could talk about why I picked this game in general. This is an old game I can't remember what year it came out, maybe 2013, 2014, so it's old by new game standards, but this is a game I had tried to hunt down for a long time. It's by Stefan Feld, who made Notre Dame, we just played, and we're playing another of his games coming up as well. But it's basically like a tableau-building card game, which I know we enjoyed with San Juan, and I wanted to find another game that did that, and this is one I had laying around. I've played a few times, and I've always wanted to dive more into it and explore more of the strategy and stuff, but I like that there's multiple things going on. Like you said, there's this card laying aspect where cards give you ongoing abilities. There's kind of this resource management, but the threats, there's these threat tokens that build up in different categories. There's like riots and fires and rats, and they can do harmful things. So you can deal with that, and then there's this track you can move up to get points. There's a canal around the city that you're building up. So it'll be cool to see. In our last game, we talked about distractions, and to see what kind of distractions are in this game, and over the course of many plays, kind of how that goes. But I'm excited. This game is out of print, but they've re-implemented it with a game called Hamburg. I haven't played that one, but I guess it's pretty similar to this. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's very pretty.
Yeah.
You're like, yes, Julie, it's more than just pretty.
Well, should I teach you how to play?
Yes, we'll get into our first round, and then we will report back. Okay, so after the first game, when I initially had stated that this game looks intimidating, I would say it kind of is. But once you get your footing down, the game goes pretty smooth. There's just a lot going on. So you have to be mindful of the cards that you put down. So first off, you have 5 cards in your hand. You pick randomly between 2 piles to get 5 cards. And the only thing that you can see about the card is the color from the side that states Bruges, because the banner is a certain color. Depending on the color you get, you can move up the canal. You can trade the colors in for workers. The colors coordinate with the dice that you roll, and depending on what number the dice show will depend on how many guilders you're allowed to take. You can also use that color card to discard any threat tokens that you have earned per the rolled dice. So anything that was it 4 and up or 5 and up?
5 and 6.
So if it was 5 and 6, you took a threat marker, and then if it was 3 and 4, it kind of did nothing. And if it was 1 and 2, that's how many you would add that to see how many coins were needed to move up the race track that I was discussing.
Reputation track.
Yes. Yeah. And you're just trying to get as many points as possible. And you could get that through many different ways. So you can get it through getting rid of threats by discarding the same color card to then discard that token. So you would get 1 point per discard threat. Or you could move up the canal, and the canal has... If you get the first 3, you get 3 points. And then if you get all 5, you get to choose from a statue in the middle. And if you're the first one, you get 7. And then second one, 6, and so on from there. You could also get points by your people cards. And you just have to be mindful of laying a house down to get the people card on it. So to lay a house down, you need a worker to build the house. And the worker has to be the same color as the card that you want to lay down. So it does have a lot going on, and it takes a moment to grasp, but once you're there, you can really optimize on a certain items to get points. The only tricky thing is certain cards require workers to activate. So you might have a red house that you use your red worker for, and then you might lay down a person for 3 guilders, and that person might also require a red worker to activate its special effect or what have you, and you just used a red worker for the house, so now you need to discard a red card to get 2 more reds. So it's kind of tricky. You got to think a little ahead, but it does seem like a game that I'm going to enjoy.
And why do you think that?
Because there is to me, there's already a lot of depth to it, since there's so many different ways to earn points, but the points aren't really automatic. You have to be patient, which means that the game's going to go a bit longer. And this game it does state that it may take 60 minutes, and it's 2 to 4 players, 13 years and up. So in general, it has seemed to be the theme that I enjoy longer, more difficult games. Or for correct verbiage, is it Euro games?
Yeah, Euro games.
They're the games that I've seemed to be liking.
Mm-hmm. You seem to like resource management,
yes.
long-term planning, all that stuff.
I love resource management. I think it's because I'm just really good at, doing things with my resources.
And did you see that in this game with having to manage the different colored workers and cards and everything?
Yes, because there would be really good cards that I got, but you could only bring one card from your hand into the next round. So if it came down to 2 that you really liked, but you couldn't afford to lay it down, or you didn't have a worker to activate it, or whatever resource it may be, then you would have to kind of either decide to part with it or use it in a way that would help you, even if it's not laying it down to be a person on your team.
Yeah, it's challenging, I think, to do all the right things. And I think that's where it comes down to whether there are distractions in this game, because I feel distracted because I find cards that look cool, do cool abilities, but then I need to make sure I have the right things. And then there's also that majority aspect, and I wanted to talk about that, just your impressions of how at the end of each round you check for majority in the canals and the people cards and then the reputation track. And if at any point in the game at the end of a round you have the majority in that category, you get to flip that over, and that's 4 points for the end of the game. So it almost seems like there's this trying to keep up with your opponent to make sure that they don't get the majority, but you just want to be able to get the majority once in the game in order to secure that.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself having to watch what I was doing very closely?
Yeah, when you were doing the canals, you really, really bothered me. I was about to get the majority, and you laid down 2 people cards where it had got rid of one of my canals, and it gave you a free canal. So then you had the majority of canals.
That was a good move. It didn't win me the game.
Yes,
but.
It was a good Well, speaking of winning a game, I like this game too because it's higher scoring.
Oh, okay, compared to Notre Dame.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just like when the score feels satisfying to the work I put in.
Yeah.
And since this is a game where you kind of have to think through what you're gonna do, all the way from the colored cards you choose, and if the colored card you want doesn't pop up, that's unfortunate because then you can't do what you want to do. So I like the aspect of luck. I like the aspect of strategy. I think it's a good mix so far.
So you think it's a good blend of strategy and luck. I feel like you could base a strategy around trying to fill your canal in or something, but the color you may need may not come up. Your opponent might grab it before you. So
right. And if you're working on one side of the canal and then the other side of the canal you get that color for, then you're out of luck because maybe you don't want to restart a canal or anything. So, I don't know yet. I don't see a clear path in winning. Like, I don't see a clear path in the best way to win yet. Maybe I'll see it in 10, maybe I won't. But so far, it seems best to dabble in everything.
Well, should we go dabble in it a little bit?
Should we go dabble in everything in all 10?
Yeah.
Sure, could I choose what you get to do?
You're going to pick my strategy and tell me I have to go for that?
Yep, you can only go for the canals.
Can't do anything else.
Right.
Well, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I really am. So, let's get into it. I am so excited to be back from our 10 by 10. I'm excited for many reasons. I'm excited because this was probably my favorite game so far.
What? Really?
Yeah, I'd say so. The first game that we played, there was a lot going on, but then I grasped this game a lot quicker than Notre Dame, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe because there was just a lot going on, so then I had to figure out all of that. And there were those cards that told you what certain things did, and on the cards themselves, they did have a description of how to use them. So if it needed a blue meeple to activate it, it told you that. Like, it had the picture of the blue meeple, and then it told you exactly what it did. So that part was easy. Using your resources to make homes and or activate cards was easy to follow, and obviously building canals and whatnot. So yeah, everything was pretty easy to follow. It's just kind of depended on what strategy you wanted to go for, and it did seem as we were playing that you went 4 different strategies. There was one where you went for the canals, and I was a bit worried. I thought that you were going to win because not only did you finish both your canals, but you got the 2 top trophies, so that was 7 and 6 points.
Right.
And I didn't have a canal finished. But because you were working on the canals, you lacked in people and homes.
And homes.
And
you still won that round by 1 point.
By 1 point.
That was so close. And I was devastated because I had built this whole strategy around finishing those canals. I just wanted to get both of them done. And I thought if I could just do this, I can win.
I think you would have won if I didn't realize what you were doing and then started collecting points prior. Because what I did was, if I couldn't purchase a person to live in the home, I discarded it so I could discard a threat token and then move up. So then I moved up the difference of what you would have had.
You were really watching me closely in this game.
I had to watch you closely in this game. I think maybe that's why I did so well at this game. Let's talk about how many times you won. You said you didn't want to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I won 1 game out of that. Those 10 plays.
I feel like that was the game where I was really tired too.
But I think I thought I would be really good at this game because it's primarily a card game, and I seem to do really well at card games. Why do you think I can't win this game compared to like Lost Cities or Battleline? You know how I'm really good at those kinds of games.
You're very good at those too. I can't beat you at those two.
But why can you beat me every time in this?
I think because there's distractions in this one. Okay,
let's talk about the distractions.
Yeah, let's talk about the distractions. Let's talk about why you can beat me in those games compared to this game. And I think it's because in those games, there's no distractions. It's just the cards. And then in this game, there's so many ways to collect points that you always go for the prettier things. So like building the canal, you're like, yeah, let me build a canal. But the Lord of the Rings game, you went for the track. You wanted to chase the Fellowship, or you wanted to run.
I love doing that.
Yeah, you always go for the ones that are the most obvious, and from what it seems to be the most easiest.
The low-hanging fruit.
Yes. So I think that's why you might win card games over games that have a little bit more depth or more items to pay attention to. Because in this game, it's actually kind of funny. There was a round where I remember you got a train going, and one card gave you that color meeple that you needed. I forgot what color you needed. And then you could use that color to activate another card. You could activate like 3 cards by using 1 card to get what you needed and then activate. And you were like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then I was giggling to myself because I thought of when you play Dominion and you always get the festival cards and you think you're doing something huge, right? And then you get a 2-point card. But you stacked like 5 separate cards and you drew continuous cards, and I'm sitting there waiting for my turn like, Dave, come on.
I can do so much with doing so little.
Yeah. So when I saw you doing that, I was in my mind, I already knew I was winning, because I was like, oh, he's distracted now. He's distracted by wanting to make this train work.
My favorite was there was a round where a card gave you a yellow threat token, which if you get 3 of the yellow threat tokens, you lose all your money. So I thought, I have this huge plan where I'm going to make it so hard for her to gain enough money, because that reputation track at the beginning of the round
is my favorite.
Where you add up the 1s and 2s, and then anyway, you don't want to be left without money if you're trying to move up the track. But my goal was to get you without money at the end of each round so that I can move up that track further than you and get the majority marker, but then have more points at the end of the game. And I thought it was so smart. And then you found that one card that once per round, you could use that ability to discard a threat marker and get a point.
Yes.
So what you did was you made it so I had to pay a worker to give you a yellow threat token, which would then give you a point for free.
And then when you noticed it, you stopped doing it.
I stopped doing it right away.
You said, I'm not giving you points.
Yeah. And I also loved, there was one round where you said that you knew you were going to win. And I asked, how did you know I was going to lose? There was one round where you said that you knew you were going to win, and I asked how. And you said because you were just doing random stuff.
Oh, yes. You weren't paying attention to what you needed to do. So you were laying down cards that cost 0, but then were worth 0. So it looked like you had a lot going on, but you had nothing going on. But
I still had fun.
Maybe that's what it is too in the card games that we play. So Battle Line and Lost Cities as the example, you can lay down any card and it's still a numerical point. Well, in this game, you can lay down any card, but not all cards are worth points. Some cards are worth more, some are worth less. And I think with this game that there's patience involved. So if you decide to wait until you get enough coins or guilders, you could afford a higher card if you draw it, and that's kind of what I would do. I would always wait until I had 9 or 12 and put 9 or 12 down, and the only time I would use a 0 card is if it would benefit me. So if it was, every round collect 3 guilders, that's the time I would lay down a 0 card onto one of my houses.
Yeah.
Yes. So I might have had less houses and less people, but my people were a lot stronger.
Maybe it's because I've been in the mindset of playing games like San Juan, where the game ends when somebody's built their 12th building or whatever. Mm-hmm. But this game isn't triggered by that, so I was just building a lot of stuff. But it didn't really do anything for me.
Right. So I think so. And I love the theme. I love the cards. We were laughing about them. We found some fun. And then, of course, there was a jester card that I found really cute.
Yeah. That's the second game in a row that we've had jester cards.
I know. Are you doing it intentionally?
No.
You're just picking them?
Just picking them.
Yeah.
So this is the second Stefan Feld game that we've played. Mm-hmm. How would you compare this to Notre Dame? I know you talked a little bit about that, but can you see similarities in the game design itself?
Yes. I could see similarities in potential distractions. So in Notre Dame, we had the rat track, where the rats would go up and there would be the threat. And in this game, we had the threat of dice being 5 or higher. So if you rolled a 5 or a 6, you collected a threat of that colored die. And if you got 3 of those threats, something happened. So either 3 points would get taken away, a house or canal would be taken away, a person would be taken away, and then all of your money would be taken away. And so there was still threats, it just wasn't rats. But there was rats on the threat. And so there was that you kind of had to pay attention to because you didn't want to get 2 because then you would be worried going into the next round. But then at that point, you have to decide, depending on the threat, do I waste a card that I could use somewhere else to do a different action on taking away a threat? Or do I just use it to do the action? So it's kind of like the rats, I would consider it an upgrade because there's more thought and there's more of the balancing the consequence over the reward. While in the game Notre Dame, it was always -2 points and minus a cube in one of your districts. In this game, it could have been anything. So, for example, the canal one where it was minus a canal or minus a house. If you didn't have a canal, you'd have to minus a house. But if you have one canal, you could just take away the canal. And that's not going to hurt if you only have one, or if you already completed it and you already took the statue, you're not going to get the statue taken away. So you just had to balance out the benefits.
Yeah, and I like that you don't suffer the consequence until you get the 3rd token. So you know it could potentially be coming. So the round where you have 2 and the next round you might get a 3rd, I found myself making decisions that would lessen that impact. Instead of burning a turn to discard a threat token, which you still get a point, but I might try to spend all of my money that round. So in case that 3rd yellow comes up and I have to lose all my money, it's not that bad. Or use all my workers or complete the canal. Kind of pushes you potentially into certain strategies to lessen the impact of those, but they could be distracting if you just want to focus on getting rid of them, which still gives you points, like I said, so it's not that bad.
And the point aspect actually helps you too, because the last round that we played, the one where I won by 1 point, I used them at the last round of that, and instead of using my cards to build houses or put people down or gather money to put people down, I had threat tokens, so I used all of them to get rid of all my threat tokens and get points. So I got 4 additional points that last round because I didn't see any consequence to not getting those.
Yeah.
Just like, what's the point of gathering guilders if I'm not going to be able to use them?
Yeah, and if they don't do anything at the end of the game other than be a tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm. So, in a way, the threats are kind of helpful, especially if you're in a situation where you have your card and you're giving me them and I have my card and I'm getting rid of them.
For points.
For points.
Do you feel like after 10 rounds of this game, there's still more to discover, or do you think that you've seen everything the game has to offer?
I think there's more to discover because on the 50 token, there's 100. Like, if you flip it over, there's 100 sides. So I feel that we can get more points. And there was a round where you got 65 points, and then there was another round where I got 62 or 60. So there is potential for high scoring. It's just we haven't unlocked it, and I think what's holding me personally back from unlocking it is that I don't like using the ones where you have to discard cards to get workers and then use the workers to do things. I always look for the cards that are the one action or give you guilders to do more actions. I never use the ones where you need certain colors to
and I always
them.
go for those.
Yeah, so I think if I can use them properly, that they would benefit me, because the final round that we had just played, I had a card where every time I used a worker on it, I got a point and 2 guilders. If you just get a bunch of those and maybe find a way to always make a color, like something gives you a color for free or something like that once a round, then you can always activate that card to get extra points and extra guilders, and that'll help you build faster. So I think there's potential for high points in this game.
Do you think you could clear the 100?
Yes. Well, when we were playing, every time I didn't get 50, I was pretty disappointed.
I know. You were very disappointed.
I was.
Were there any negative aspects to this game that you could see after 10 plays?
Negative aspects to this game that I could see after 10 plays?
Or things that you wish were a little bit different?
It's hard to say because I like when things are a little difficult. So I guess the only drawing from 2, but I like it though because it made it difficult. So you didn't always get the color you wanted because we were drawing out of the 2 piles, and if I drew my last card to my hand and then the one directly below that was the color I needed, I would sigh because, I was disappointed that I didn't get it.
Yeah.
So I think that is a potential negative, but I think it's supposed to be part of the game to add a level of difficulty. Yeah,
and I think at one point you and I were talking, and I mentioned the luck factor, and that I had built a whole strategy around something, and then I couldn't finish it because I couldn't get the right colored card. And you said that's where you went wrong, is you built your whole strategy based on luck.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that. I do think a couple of things playing the game 10 times, and I don't know if this plays into what you were saying about it being the right level of difficult, but there are a lot of different suits in the game, or different categories of cards, and then there are certain cards that give you endgame scoring for having other cards, or ongoing bonuses for having cards of the same category, and maybe there are a little bit too many of those where it felt hard to pull off whatever the card said. And then also, I don't know how it plays with more than 2 players, but it felt like the game, although it was about 30 minutes, which is a good amount of time, it almost felt like right when you built up this engine or these chaining bonuses or abilities, you almost didn't have enough time to actually see the benefits of those. It was really challenging to play a card and be able to use it fully throughout the game or feel satisfied. So that's the only con I can see. But again, that adds to it just being a challenge that you have to pick and choose what you're going to do, knowing that.
Yeah, and I also liked that all 10 rounds felt different. So with San Juan, there was always cards I was looking for. Although the deck was really big, there were still cards that I would keep my eye out for. While in this game, you separated the cards and half the deck was put aside.
Right.
So every game we had different cards. Even though there was a card that I really liked, I wouldn't get that every single game.
That's true, and I did find, I think, new combos and bonuses just about every time.
I know, there was one time when you got one of the cards that I really like, and I saw you lay it down, and I just thought, it's like, that's my card. It took away threats.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted. It took away 2 threats, yeah. So if you laid a card down to take away a threat, you got to take away 2 from that pile, and then you got 2 points for it.
Yes, so. And I got to use that once because I was waiting till the right time. So would you say, after 10 plays, this is a keep it to play or trade it away for us?
I would say that this one's a keep it to play because I feel that there's more to it and that we haven't discovered yet. And I think my mind really didn't change about this one. I liked it for all 9 plays, I would say, because the first play I was confused and whatnot, but then the second round I clicked pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I like it.
I would say that this game seemed to click faster for you than Notre Dame.
I think so. Maybe it's just because Notre Dame was my first Stefan Feld game.
Yeah.
And then coming into this game, there was some similarities, so it was easier to pick up.
And also, I think there were similarities for this game, for previous games that we played, like San Juan and stuff. Notre Dame maybe is the most unique game we've played so far, so that could be why it took you a second to wrap your brain around it. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it was very San Juan-esque, but it had a board game.
Yeah.
Like a game board.
This clicked for you pretty quick, and then it was all over for me. But I'm excited to show you the next game by him, which is the Castles of Burgundy.
Ooh,
which is a lot of people's...
That's that the you one. Always win at?
I am unbeatable. Yes. I played it a lot online, and I can't remember what my win percentage was, but it was pretty high.
I'm going to take it away from you.
Wow. You're going to spend time before you play just researching strategies.
No, I'm going to go in not knowing anything. So that the win is more satisfying.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you want to keep this to play because I really enjoy it. And I would be interested to try the Hamburg reimplementation of this game. Mm-hmm. I did hear that instead of having 2 piles that you draw from, there's different stacks of cards that are based on the color, so you can always draw the color that you want. And I don't know if I like that, but it might be one, if we can find it somewhere to give it a try, I would want to see that, to see what improvements, if any, over this version that they made. I think it incorporates, there's an expansion for this game that is almost impossible to find at this point that I've wanted to try, but they incorporate the best elements from the expansion and the base game together to make a new version of the game. Okay. So I'd be curious.
Yeah, I'm sure we can maybe go to a local game shop and see if they have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for playing this with me, Julie. I had so much fun. Losing 9 rounds of this.
I can't believe you lost 9.
That's embarrassing.
It's going to be like Castles of Burgundy.
I love that when I was asking if we have to mention how many I lost, and you said yes, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, we talk about it. We talk about it all the time, you know. But of course, so thank you too, and thank you so much for listening to our podcast this week. Be sure to join us next week on Tuesday to find out the games that we have been playing, still new games and future games. If you would like to ask a question for that podcast, feel free to email us at thedicejesters@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on Instagram. Our Instagram is dicejesters. If you would like to have your Instagram shouted out on our next podcast with your question, just let me know that in your question that you send over, and we can put that in there, as well as put your Instagram handle in the episode description if that is what you would like. Just let me know that. But it has been grand. With laughs and cheers, we've roamed this land. Until next time, jesters all, may your days be bright and your troubles small.